Well, we're back at it on Crusty this morning, that 99 Cherokee. For once, I get out here in the morning, Saturday morning, working on the Jeep. Show you what I got done a little bit last night, but give you a little guided tour. We actually have the sun behind us today, coming up this morning through the door, as compared to setting over there, because we're always out here at night. Now, back to the project. So I left you off on the last one. I decided to start pulling this rear end apart because I've got to replace the seals and bearings in the back here. They're a little loose, and get those axles pulled out of there and continue the rust removal. So what I did last night before I went in is I took this the Must for Rust. I sprayed and it soaked everything down underneath here, and it looks like it did a pretty good job. It turned everything white, so I'm assuming that means it's doing something good as far as etching the material. So like I said, I just keep polishing this same old frickin' turd here, but I gotta try something to just make it look a little presentable. Cleaning that up, knocking the rust off, got the brakes pulled out. Next thing I gotta get done is that drive shaft in there is bothering me. It's pretty rusty. So I'm gonna set you up and show you my solution. I don't know if it's quite OSHA approved, but I'm gonna be pretty safe about the deal here. So let me set you up and show you what we got going here. Well, I got it painted up, got all the rust off there. It was just bothering me. I couldn't focus on what I was doing over there until I cleaned it up and put the spray paint on there. I'll do the same to the front drive shaft on there. Well, back to getting this rear end tore apart on here. Well, had some lunch, heading to town to go get some parts and see how they did. Every time I turn around, I need something else on there. Let me just sort of show you the mess I got going on here. Doesn't look like much different mess than the last go around, but we'll show you anyways. So I've got back diff cover, got that all cleaned up. I'm just de-rusting and de-painting as I go. Everything I touch, I'm just doing one piece at a time, and eventually it'll all be done. I got the backing plates all cleaned up. Heading to town, going to the shop. I think we've got a bearing and seal puller, slide hammer. It's got to fit in that hole. If I can't find it at the shop, I'm gonna have to get one from AutoZone. But I got to get these bearings replaced here. Got the drive shaft off. Well, I got the pinion seal out of there. That was a frickin' mess to get that pounded out of there. I got that out. Took that back hitch off. It was hanging down because I frickin' wrapped my head on there one too many times. Took some of the other garbage out of there. Took the bump stops off that were up onto the frame. All that was doing was collecting rust. And I see I got some rust here. So once I take this back bumper off here, I'm going to slit this whole bottom out, get all this rust out of here. I'm going to get a tube, and I am going to slide a tube all the way in and fasten it from the side. This side's all done over here. And let me show you what I got going on over here. I've got the drive shaft all cleaned up. You saw me do my my little grinding paint method on there just to get that rust off there. It was just bothering me too much. I couldn't handle that rust on there. So started knocking the U-joints out. Cleaned up the yoke on here a little bit. I hope that seal is going to be able to sit on here. I'll get that cleaned up a little bit. I should probably check the back of the transfer case to make sure I don't need a seal back there. But other than that, it's off to town and getting more frickin' parts. Well, I gotta stop at the shop here first and see if I can find that slide hammer. As somebody said, we got one and it's around somewhere. We got the flag is hanging off the crane. So you can see it's a little windy out. Just pulling into the yard here. See if I can find what I'm looking for. And looks like I gotta put a truck away that's sitting out front here yet. Well, went and picked the mail up out in the mailbox there. Don't even want to messing with the mail. I don't know why they bring the mail on Saturday. There's not too many people that really want the mail on Saturday, but there must be a reason for it. So, well, let me get in here and see if we can find that slide hammer. It's gonna get dark in here, so be able to find some lights here somewhere. Let's see how they oh, well, I guess we can see what's going on in here. Yeah, so this is the one of the shops here. Got our metal cutting saws, plasma table, you can't hardly see it in the dark, and the shears and presses, and our welders and iron workers and fab shop equipment, metal fabrication. So that helps out quite a bit on these projects that I get myself into. Let's get some lights on here and see if we can find this slide hammer that we were talking about, which I don't see it. Well, let me shut you off here and do a little more digging. I think somebody's bullshitting me. Can't find the slide hammer in there, bearing puller. We got one more place to check and see where it's at if it's not in there. It looks like going to AutoZone and gonna have to buy a slide hammer for removing those axle bearings. And we do a little work with shipping containers. Upstairs is the break room, shop, office, and then downstairs we've got our wood shop down there. So got them set up. They're all portable. And more projects out in the yard. Too many to count here, but they're on the list. Oh, let's get some keys going here. That's cool when we got lights on. There we go, we got lights. See if we can find a slide hammer in here that they're talking about. I think they might have been thinking of just a body slide hammer, not a bearing puller slide hammer. Well, I don't think we're going to have much luck in here. So it looks like I am off to AutoZone. My lucky day. They had everything that I had ordered. And I even found my slide hammer and my axle bearing remover set. Got that. And also I got one other thing. I got a track bar on there because Justin said I needed a track bar on there. It was a little wobbled out. So, well, I will get back and see if I can start putting this stuff in. Time to put some U-joints in the drive shaft. Got this end done already. Came apart okay. It was rusted in there pretty good. I lubed it up pretty good, got the clips on there. I'll brake clean this and I'll put some paint on there. Now we got the other end. What I like to do on these U-joints have sort of pissed me off for a whole lot of years because I've messed up U-joints putting them together. So what I've learned after messing enough of them up and trying to go back to the parts store and get them is I like to put some oil, or not oil, grease in the cap before I start, because when they come from the manufacturer, they got the bare minimum grease in there, and you need to keep those needle bearings in place so that they don't fall over, and then you got problems, then it's a mess. So I take I got some good wheel bearing grease here. I'll put a little daub in every one, and these are a greasable grease it, so I just put that in there, get them all, those needle bearings well seated in there, and we got some good, we know what grease we're putting in there. Like I said, the factory grease is just minimum to put in there. So got those all set. Caps are all set in there. Now we've got two methods of putting these U-joints in there. You can go with the U-joint clamp. That works good. These are pretty small ones and they're going to go together pretty easy. So I just take and put a little bit, I cleaned out the groove where the clips are going to sit into. Now I'll just put a little oil in there, and we'll get started on putting these in there. And how I like to start this is watch your bearings to make sure, your needles to make sure that they're where they belong. Set that in there, grab your U-joint, and you're going to use that as a guide to hold those needles in place. So as long as you got the needles up towards the U-joint pushed into the needles, they're not gonna come off of there. So then I just start on one side here. And drive that down, and I want to get that down there as good as I can. And I'll take and set that socket in there and give her a hit, get her down a little bit. Turn this over this way, and this is where bad stuff happens, because if you don't have these needles perfectly lined up when you drop it over the top of that, you're going to cross a needle and it's going to fall sideways in the cap, and you're going to blow your cap out. So I do it more by feel, and that's why I do it this way here compared to the clamp, because I can actually feel what's happening. Because now I'm going to take and I'm going to lift this U-joint back up a little bit. It's still in the bottom down here, and it's still, the U-joint is still in the bottom cap and it's in the top cap. Now there's no way that your bearing, your needles are going to go sideways on you. So, and we just keep working them back and forth till we get it set in there. So, and then once I get that set, I will put the retaining clips on there, and we will go from there. Oop, I dropped the This is what they got for grease zerks in there now. Is this little thing that you need a special little, need this needle to put that in there. So I'll bring you back when I got this all put together. Well, my luck ran out. The pinion seal that AutoZone sent me is the wrong size. So back I go. They don't have one, so I got to head over to O'Reilly's. Yeah, probably a 10-mile round trip. So one more delay in getting old Crusty back on the road. Well, I made it back from town. It's getting dark out. I better get moving here. Got the right bearing and seal for the axle. AutoZone gave me the wrong ones, as I mentioned, and partly my fault because I had set a Dana 35, but the dimensions I gave don't match a Dana 35. Went over to O'Reilly's in about 30 seconds after I gave them the dimensions. They said, no, that's a Chrysler rear end in there. So partly my fault for assuming that they could figure this out for me. So I will show you what I got to do to pull this out. Before that, I've got the drive shaft in after getting the correct pinion seal for the end. Got all the U-joints in. We're good to go for most likely my lifetime on this beast here, for many miles as it's going to get. So I'll get you set up here, and I'm going to show you how to pop a seal out of there and put in a new rear axle bearing. So I got this fancy little tool here. Got this from AutoZone. Purchased this. You can rent these things, but what happens is this goes into the hole, turns sideways, tighten this up, and the slide hammer pulls it through. So set up like that, tighten this up. There we go. Keep tightening up this with a wrench, and that's going to loosen up, so give it a couple of whacks and then tighten her up again. And there we go. We got the bearing and seal out. Now it's time to put in a new one. Clean this out in here a little bit. Everything looks good. I pre-greased the rollers in here so that this isn't going to run dry until the gear lube gets up in there. Set that in there. And I got this from O'Reilly's, this race and seal setting tool. Now there again, you can rent them, but I'm just going to buy it because and you hit it until you can hear that it's seated in there. Now, seal goes in. And here we go. Seal is in there. Looks good to me. Well, I'll get some axles put in there and get this beast back on the road. End of day 4, finally. A lot of running today. I did get quite a bit accomplished though. The axles are in, just ready to drop the cover on the end. Axles are in, and I've got a freaking mess to clean up here. It's just one of these garage projects that you start. It sure would be nice to have a helper out here to just sort of help clean everything, but that's wishful thinking. So talk to you guys later. I'll hit her again hard tomorrow. Keep working my way forward with the brakes and eventually get towards that front end on the deal here. So thank you very much for sticking along with me today, and it's dark and time for bed. Thank you for watching Alan's Day. Life is about making choices. Some things are already perfect. Some things you may choose to upgrade. This channel will show you both. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks again.